Either.
Everyone good? We can call this meeting to order November 18th, 2025. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, good morning, everyone. We do have a quorum present this morning with all 5 commissioners in attendance. Commissioners, if you've had a chance to review today's agenda and you have no additions or corrections, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I would be happy to make a second until these guys wake up.
Second by Commissioner Tillman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. First item under tab A this morning is the public hearing, which would be for the consideration to reconvene the hearing for the petition for the formation of the Lincoln Star Improvement and Service District. As you recall, at the last meeting, we had the hearing in regards to this petition and adjourned at such time at the conclusion of hearing the testimony and accepting the evidence that was presented. The options moving forward could be to reconvene it. However, we have received a withdrawal from the petition from the individuals that I guess were all involved with that process. And as such, we have a resolution prepared for a joint order denying the petition for formation of the Lincoln Star Improvement and Service District. Where it had left off at the last meeting is I was going to reach out to Lincoln County. I did that. We had conversations back and forth, and I believe the petitioners felt the need to withdraw for perhaps some enhancements to a bi-county coordination effort, perhaps in the future. And so as such, with that withdrawal, I believe the next step would be to approve the resolution before you, unless there's any questions prior to.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Richards.
do we need to reconvene the hearing to act on the resolution?
My understanding is no. John?
You do not. Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Richards, the resolution does identify that the written notice and request to withdraw, and which is tantamount to a protest, was received within 30 days after adjournment. And so there would not be a need to reconvene.
Any other questions, comments on the withdrawal?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Tillman?
on the resolution, based on the underlying facts contained herein, but they're not spelled out. I mean,
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Toman, there are several facts that are spelled out, perhaps not as explicit as I guess as it's not quite as apparent as it is actually contained in the resolution. But for example, the facts are that there were 4 parcels. The facts are that those parcels were without residents. So each one of those, 3 being in Lincoln County, 1 being in Sweetwater County, those particular facts, there's a whole set of facts in there that lends authority to this particular resolution. In addition to the facts in the last whereas clause, the last recital, delineates the fact that the withdrawal was received within 30 days, which comports to the statute.
okay,
Any other questions or comments on the resolution? And just to be clear, all of this information, both the resolution, the withdrawal notice, is public. It is in the public packet. I know at the last hearing that we had, some information was expressed that they didn't have some of the information that we did before us. All of this has been public and can be found in our packet. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 25-11-CC-01, a joint order denying petition for formation of the Lincoln Star Improvement and Service District as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Richards. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Lots of conversation with that process. Appreciate John's efforts. Pretty much had to leave my phone on the charger there for a couple days, but a very interesting statute and a lot of kind of back and forth. So appreciate your assistance with that, as well as staff who helped us get prepared for the hearing and up to this point. So thanks to all. With that, it's going to move us right along into the county resident comments and concerns portion of the agenda. This time, if there's anyone online or in the audience that would like to address the governing body, typically limit this to 3 minutes, and the floor is open. Good morning, Assessor Davis.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Dave Davis, the Sweetwater County Assessor. And I'm here today to just update you on some potential Revenue Committee legislation that will be heard this afternoon and then tomorrow regarding property taxes. So there's a number of draft bills, and to be clear, none of these are even confirmed to be moved out of the committee. So they may not even be heard, but I thought you should have at least a rough idea of what these bills are actually proposing for the next few years. So today, the Revenue Committee is going to hear 26 LSO 202, which is a cleanup on government-owned property. This is probably good legislation or a good start. There's been issues with what truly is a governmental purpose. You have counties that potentially own, bowling alleys or movie theaters, and they are competing with other private sector businesses, and they're not having to pay their tax burden. So in that situation, this language would actually clean that up and make those statutorily taxable, where it's been kind of a gray area before. This would actually clean that up. The next bill is 26 LSO 99, and that repeals the sunset date on the long-term homeowners exemption. So we kind of knew that one was coming. Of the stuff we've got here, I think that's probably the most likely one to come out through the budget session. That's been talked about ever since the original was approved. So I believe that one, if you're asking for me to predict the future, I think that one probably flies through. The next is 26 LSO 100, and this is a constitutional amendment. So this has a number of steps to go through before it happens. But they are trying to take the assessment rate on residential property from 9.5% to 0. So they're actually trying to exempt it in that form. It has to, again, go through the legislature and then a vote of the people. But that is, and I looked this morning too, our residential value was $242 million, which was roughly 10 or 11% of what our total valuation is. So just keep that in mind. Again, there's a lot of steps for this one to actually get anywhere near the finish line. The one I am the most concerned with is 26 LSO 101. That is a bill to go to value on transfer, which I believe is similar to an acquisition value, which I've spoken to you about before. The part that I'm concerned with is they want to roll back values to 2019 and 2020. So they want to go back to pre-COVID values and then put an inflation factor on every year up to the current year. And I truly believe that is physically impossible. And I don't mean I don't want to do the work. I don't think it's capable to be done in 1 year for us to go back and look at all of those sales and determine whether they were arm's length transactions, whether they meet the criteria. And then from that point forward, value that property to the current date. Along with that, any structural changes, we have to use average construction costs to take care of the additional square footage that's added. I mean, this bill to me is a huge nightmare, and I hope this one dies a horrible, horrible death. The next one is 26 LSO 102. It allows legislature to determine the value of property for tax purposes. Basically gives them a blank check. They can write whatever they want in the legislature to determine what taxable value is, whether it's acquisition value or anything else. But it also allows us to value, currently in the Constitution, we have to value land and improvements separately. That's why you see those always listed separately on your assessment schedule is because it's in the Constitution. This bill would eliminate that provision. So, and that was one of the concerns we had with this acquisition value. We have a sale price, but we have to value the land and the improvements. So how do I know how much was for the land and how do I know what's the improvements? That's going into the weeds a little bit, but it's questions that have to be answered. The next one is 26 LSO 103. That drops the assessment rate on residential property from 9.5% to 8.3. That's something they could have done in the last session and chose not to. 26 LSO 104. This is a big deal. It makes Wyoming a disclosure state. It also it gives more details on how the data has to be provided to the taxpayer during an appeal or a review. There are some things in here that aren't terrible, but they're asking for 3 days from the request for us to be able to get all the information that the taxpayer needs for the appeal hearing. And our legislative committee is actually meeting in Cheyenne right now. They're going to be testifying on all of these bills. And 3 days we think is a little much. We would ask them to change that possibly to 10 business days. I think that would be much better for us because remember, all these people are coming at the same time. So we would have to get everything out for every taxpayer in that 3-day window. And that may be very cumbersome for us. It also extends the appeal period from 30 days to 45 days. So that's something that, as assessors, we think if people are going to wait till the last minute, it doesn't matter when the deadline is, they'll just come on the last day. In my opinion, it doesn't help the local taxpayers. It helps the tax agents that are representing companies. It gives them another 15 days to basically stall, filed at the last minute. Not really a huge fan of that. And then the biggest one, as far as you may be concerned, this is a Harshman's bill a couple years ago that replaces a portion of property tax with sales tax. And it exempts the first 200,000 in tax year 2026 and then the first 2 million in 2027 and replaces that revenue with a 2% increase in sales tax. But it does exclude any industrial siding projects that are in the works. So again, there's a lot of moving parts with this. It's a budget session. I don't have any idea how far this is going to go, but this is another way to basically, I'll use the term blow up the property tax system, but I don't know whether it's going to pass this time. We'll see what happens, but it's an alternative that has been brought up in the past. So I'll keep you posted. I'm sure Jeremiah is going to keep you posted as well. And again, if these don't come out of committee, a pretty good chance we won't hear from them until the next session, but just wanted you to be aware so you had an idea what was going on. If anybody wants copies of these, or if you want to go find them, they're out on the legislative website. If you go to the Department of Revenue meeting for today, you can actually see the meeting materials and they're listed there and you can print those out, but I've got them here too if you'd like.
Good morning, Dave. How are things with you?
Well, I didn't sleep very good last night, but yeah.
Questions or comments, commissioners? Well, we appreciate you keeping us up to speed on the happenings. I think it's going to be an interesting legislative session and we'll certainly be involved throughout that process. So
yeah, our group, our group is very, very good. And they had meetings with Representative Locke and Representative Lean on one of these property tax bills, and they had agreed on some language changes. This was a couple of weeks ago, and those language changes they agreed to did not show up in the bill that they were discussing. So we're very concerned. We just don't know what's going to happen down there, and we'll be there, but we just don't know what's going to happen. So, but I will keep you posted. As I know stuff, I'll let you know. I've got all of the contact information for our delegation. I've got some really good relationships with some of the representatives down there. So I'm hoping if this does get to the floor, they will actually listen when we tell them the consequences of this action. So we'll keep you posted.
very good. Appreciate it, Dave.
All right. Thank you.
Still under the county resident comments and concerns portion of the agenda. If there's anyone else either online or in the audience who would like to address the governing body. Last call. With that, we'll go ahead and close the county resident comments and concerns portion of the agenda, and that's going to move us right along into tab B. Under tab B this morning is the consent agenda consisting of 11 items. First is the approval of the October 31st, 2025 special meeting minutes. Second is the approval of the November 4th, 2025 regular meeting minutes. Third is the approval of the county vouchers, the warrants, expenditure approval listing, and the commissioner's report. Fourth is the approval of bonds. Fifth is the approval of the monthly reports. Sixth, the approval of the human service agreements. Seventh is a request to ratify the CLG comments on the notice of intent to amend the Rock Springs Field Office's resource management plan and to prepare an environmental assessment. 8 is a request to ratify the CLG comments on the notice of intent to prepare an environmental impact statement and rulemaking to rescind the 2001 roadless area conservation rule. 9th is a request to ratify the letter of support for the Sweetwater Events Complex Foundation's America 250 Wyoming grant application for their Legacy Silo project. 10th is a request to restaff a vacant position in the Road and Bridge Department. And lastly, item number 11 is a request to restaff a vacant position in the clerk's office for the Elections Department. And Commissioners, I would ask if there are any requests to remove any items off of the consent agenda this morning. I would ask that we remove the warrant to Vaughn's Plumbing and Heating under the expenditure approval listing and entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Slaughter. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Pose nay. Motion's unanimous. I would then entertain a motion to approve the outstanding warrant for Vaughn's Plumbing and Heating.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Slaughter. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Going to abstain as that is the place in which I'm employed. It's going to move us right along into Commissioner comments, and Commissioner Jones, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the evening of the 4th, I watched the Corporation's Election and Political Subdivisions Legislative Meeting. The portion I was interested in was scheduled at 11:15 on the 4th regarding the heavy-handed overreach of our legislature to restrict our ability to work with and be a member of the Wyoming County Commission Association, and in doing so, restrict our ability to effectively work with other government officials for the betterment of our constituents, also known as the people. I wanted to see if there was a complete understanding of what all the Wyoming County Commission Association does, or if there is only a partial understanding. It quickly became obvious there's a very limited understanding. I've been trying to figure out how best to explain to our legislators the importance of being a member of this very valuable association, but I've struggled to find a way that it would make sense to them. I would like to thank this legislative committee for fulfilling my mission in proving the importance of the WCCA. The meeting was held on a day we are statutorily required to hold our monthly meeting. And so I'd like to thank the WCCA for attending the meeting on our behalf and giving all our counties, commissioners, and the people a voice that is obviously being attempted to be silenced. I would also like to thank the Corporation's Election and Political Subdivision Committee for providing just how valuable and important the WCCA is to local government and also the people. Thank you. On the 5th, I attended the Memorial Hospital Sweetwater County monthly Board of Trustees meeting. I know I mentioned the completed audit that was done up there in the previous meeting. Now the presentation was given to the full Board of Trustees, and it went into more detail than was given at the Finance Committee meeting. So it was good to have a little more in depth, but there was just a reminder that the audit found no significant findings, only a few minor changes that needed to be made, which is fairly standard. One of the many other topics covered was that they're working on what is called a 340B contract for pharmaceuticals that may save money for some patients. There's more work to do on that topic, but it was kind of exciting to hear. On the evening of the 6th, I attended a presentation on hand counting of ballots. The meeting was slated for 3 hours. I was only able to attend 2 hours due to previous commitments. Several examples were given where people, in particular county clerks, allegedly made mistakes. There were allegations of lots of other people making mistakes when it comes to elections. The takeaways for me, one was that people definitely do make mistakes for a variety of reasons, but mostly because we're human and not perfect. On the 10th, I joined our chairman for a meeting with the Muley Fanatics Foundation and the Greater Little Mountain Coalition to discuss Bureau of Land Management's Rock Springs Resource Management Plan. Never thought I'd get that good at saying all of that at once, but here we are. Where the county overall stands as far as the amendment process and also any amendments we are proposing. While our letter to the BLM is still in draft form, we did discuss topics such as process, our stance on ACECs and SERMAs, amongst others. In order to not steal all of the thunder, I'll stop, Mr. Chairman, if you'll have anything to add in your comments. On the 14th, I traveled to Cheyenne to attend a full-day Wyoming State Trails Advisory Council meeting. This is a council I was recently reappointed to by Governor Gordon. This council basically oversees everything trails related across Wyoming and its funding. One of the biggest tasks we have is to grant funding to various government and now non-government organizations after their requests are reviewed and scored for ranking. We're starting to see more NGOs than before as staffing for the BLM and Forest Service has been reduced. We're seeing groups such as the Friends of the Bridger Teton showing up. These are organizations comprised of volunteers who are getting together, proposing projects with the Forest Service and working with the Forest Service where they don't have staffing. They're requesting the grant monies and are completing the projects over time. The Forest Service has become very open to this type of help. They didn't used to be very open to this, but they are now, as they simply just can't keep up with the needs for recreation. Also, the Office of Outdoor Recreation is going to host the Mountain West Trails Summit here in Rock Springs, May 19th through the 21st. This summit will bring 300 to 400 outdoor leaders from Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico to discuss trail planning, design, stewardship, and community engagement. On the 17th, I attended a committee meeting for the semi-quincentennial ATV ride across the state of Wyoming. We worked on putting together a registration form and mostly hammered out a route so that we can start working on topics such as lodging, fuel, food, and safety, and making sure everyone's prepared for a trip all the way across the state. I think it's going to be a great ride. Only question we have right now, really, we have everything figured out except bags seems to be kind of a hang up. We wanted to spend one night there, but potentially 200 people going on this, and there aren't rooms for 200 people in bags, and there's only one restaurant, one gas station. So we're still working through that one. Other than that, we have everything from Evanston to the steps of the Capitol, other than the fact that it sounds like Cheyenne will have 7 blocks around the Capitol blocked off for the 4th of July. So we might not actually get right to the steps of the Capitol, but we'll get as close as we can. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any comments or questions for Commissioner Jones's report? If not, I believe I'm up next. I'll try and keep it brief here. I've had 2 meetings with Mayor Mickelson from Rock Springs, along with Commissioner Richards and a couple city council members on various topics. The first being what they labeled as county priorities, more or less just wanting to get a feel for any, I guess, aspirations or projects that we as a county have been discussing or intend to, I guess, tackle in the near future. So we had some pretty good conversations in that regard. The other was specific to joint powers board agreements and just wanting to take a look at some of them, see if they need reviewed, updated, changed, or to be left alone. Had some pretty good conversations in that regard as well. I'll save that for Commissioner Richards, but it sounds like there's an interest, particular in Rock Springs, as part to revisit the combined communications agreement due to budget constraints and some of the challenges therein. So we'll see where that heads. I met with Candy Pendleton from the events complex, I believe that was last week, in regards to the Wyoming horse racing contract that I spoke about at the last meeting. Candy had some different options and ideas for that. I will likely get together with Mr. De Leon on those and try and kind of redline some of the existing contract we have. It does expire by the end of the year, but their payment doesn't actually go through until, I believe she said, February. So it's not under a huge time crunch per se in that regard, but we'll continue to work on that and hopefully present some options for you at an upcoming meeting for your consideration. As Commissioner Jones alluded to, we had a meeting with Muley Fanatics, and there was members from Trout Unlimited and a couple other organizations on that call. More or less, they just wanted to get a feel for where we were at within the scoping comments for the RMP. Obviously, their concern continues to be primarily focused around Little Mountain, and I think there was an appetite there that we may have changed our thoughts in regards to that, which obviously we haven't. So it was a good meeting, but I don't think anything really came of it. They did share some of their scoping comments that they were going to present and asked if they could have a copy of ours. I told them I didn't feel like any of us would have any issue with that, although it was still in draft form. So as we continue to move forward on that regard, happy to share it. But I'll get into that here in just a little bit. Yesterday, I had a opioid committee meeting with Commissioner Slaughter, Christina Marshall, and it was a recap with Corona Insights, who's the firm we hired for the community assessment, as you might recall. They have completed 33 community stakeholder interviews, and you might also remember that when we approved of that contract, we allowed for the committee to decide whether or not they wanted to proceed with a community survey or not. And that is kind of the point to where we're at as to whether or not we want to move forward in that regard. So I think we have a little bit of differing opinions on that, but nonetheless, we're working through that and getting closer to finally having a report to bring before you. So it's exciting for that kind of ongoing process. Following that meeting yesterday, I had the Sweetwater County Water Users Coalition meeting, which was a lengthy discussion in regards to the impasse between the upper and lower Colorado River Basin users. For your recollection, the main conflict is obviously between the upper and lower basins. The objective and goal was that there would be some form of agreement by November 11th as they sort through the NEPA process and begin the alternatives within there. Basically, it's about conservation, and the lower basin doesn't feel as though the upper basin conserves enough. The upper basin, obviously, which is us, argues that it's a supply issue, obviously with drought, and as such, they're not able to control that, matters that are out of their hands, so to speak. And so that impasse creates some pause, because ultimately, if they can't come to terms, that means the federal government will step in and more or less make those decisions for them and for us. And so they're working together with the State Select Water Committee. They've had some draft legislation that was produced at one of their recent meetings. It was tabled, but it was in regards to a conservation program. And it sounds like there was a federal program that worked well with some of the administrative changes, and they pause on federal funding at the beginning of the year. That program more or less has gone away, and so there's other states around us, such as Utah, that has developed their own conservation program in an attempt to mimic the federal program. Working on some language to, I guess, show that they have a plan rather than just going into everything blind during these negotiations. And so Select Water had tabled that at their last meeting to allow for the state engineering's office to review such. And sounds like they'll take that back up on January 21st to potentially pass out a committee in preparation for the session. So lots going on with that. We discussed various other matters such as cloud seeding and some of the different legislation around that. Heard some updates from some of the other members that aren't on the board but are in attendance. Mark Cott was one of those who served on there and said that there's also some language, I believe it was from Senator Hicks, that's coming out in regards to forest management and some of the different, I guess, issues aside from fire that also creates for water and not cleaning up the forest and allowing some of that water to make it downstream, so to speak. And so there'll be a big push for that that's specific to kind of water development and conservation at the same approach. So very interesting. Like I say, I think every time I always feel like I'm a little bit in left field with that, but there's a lot of information to digest and understand, and it's certainly an underspoken importance to our area and I guess the future. So we'll continue to keep our thumb on that and see where things head in the legislative session. I had various conversations with Micah Christensen from the Wyoming County Commissioners Association. As you recall, last meeting I spoke that I may be heading to DC to testify. At the time, it was believed that that was specific to the Rock Springs RMP. It sounds like it was more in regards to just the federal BLM land use planning process as a whole, in particular through FLPMA. And so as such, Micah headed out, I believe, today and will testify tomorrow morning before the United States Senate Committee on Energy and Natural Resources. Had a few discussions relative to the ACECs and the struggles that we faced here, which he'll be highlighting pretty heavily during his testimony. So I look forward to watching him stand tall on behalf of Wyoming counties tomorrow. Aside from that, honestly, it was just mainly working through our scoping comment letter on the RMP and making some fine tunes to that, if you will, and working on the potential petition that we had before us. There was lots of conversation, lots of background information that was studied and researched in preparation for that. And then obviously we received the withdrawal. So in regards to the scoping comments, obviously with the extension that was pushed through at our last special meeting, we had approved the content and allowed for myself to make any minor changes, mainly grammatically. And the direction was to reach out to the WCCA and the governor's office to see if we could coordinate a meeting together among the three entities with the hopes of delivering a similar message within our scoping comments. So that has been done. We have a meeting set up with the governor's office and WCCA on December 9th, which is just a virtual meeting with Eric, John, Taylor, and myself, and then a couple, Micah and Tristan from WCCA. So we will review that. Obviously, the BLM's public meeting after this extension period was slated for December 3rd. That's still the case. The submission deadline is then December 18th. So in having a brief conversation with Eric and Taylor this morning, we believe it probably makes sense to wait until our second meeting in December, which would be December 16th. That gives 2 days to get it submitted, but that would also allow for the public meeting to take place as well as our meeting with the governor and WCCA. If you all are good with that, it's ready to go. It hasn't changed a whole lot other than, some of the deliverance of the message that we spoke about. So pending any changes from the public meeting or the other one, I think we'll be good to go. But if you're all good with that, that'll kind of be the path forward. And with that, I would stand for any questions. With none, Commissioner Slaughter, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the 7th, I worked in my office catching up on emails and preparing for the specific purpose tax joint powers meeting to be held the following Monday. On the 10th, I put the finishing touches on preparation for the specific purpose tax joint powers board meeting, then conducted the regular monthly meeting of the specific purpose tax joint powers board. The board approved requisitions and discussed several issues related to the board function, including updates on preparation for the annual audit, the state F-32 form filing, ideas for advertising the progress of the specific purpose tax 22 projects, and the concept of petitioning for a new specific purpose tax issue when this issue is completed. The board also heard updates on progress from Jamestown and North Sweetwater Improvement District. The sales tax distribution this month was $1,708,819.11. We've now received 28 full months of collections and have collected 55.22% of the total tax and are averaging $1,553,578.69 per month, which is still slightly ahead of our projected collection of $1.4 million. I will be requesting time on our next agenda to have a discussion on the BOCC's direction with respect to a new specific purpose tax initiative when this one is completed. Later that evening, I attended the monthly Star Transit meeting. They once again had a busy month with 892 more riders year over year from last October. Their new phone app continues to account for about 12% of their ridership. They began advertising for sale of 2 of their older buses this week. They hope to receive $5,000 to $10,000 for each of the buses. SLIB has approved funding for a replacement van for them. They anticipate receiving approximately $10,000 for a state performance award and will use the award to provide benefits to their full-time staff and then use the balance for funding matches. Director Pacheco is planning on speaking to us today, but I do not see him on the agenda. I would anticipate an update from him at our December 2nd meeting. I then scrambled back to Green River to attend the regular quarterly meeting of the tripartite board. The board addressed many issues. The most pressing is the finalization of the community needs assessment. The board heard an update from Joe Coyne, the consultant charged with completing the CNA. He explained the reason for the delay and assured the board the CNA could be finished by the 1st of December. Board members questioned him about the quality of the product at that time. He explained he would be able to provide a more quality product if given additional time. The board considered the facts and are working with him to get a high quality product. The board also heard a CSBG fiscal year report and considered and voted on their organizational standards. The board also believes they may have found a new person to fill a vacancy of a low-income individual and family representative that has been vacant for quite some time. On the 10th, the monthly planning and zoning board meeting was canceled. So my liaison duties there were not done this month. On the 11th, Mary Ellen and I celebrated Veterans Day. We have several family members that have served or are serving our country, and we feel it is important to recognize all that veterans have done for this country. On the 17th, as the chairman stated, I attended an opioid committee meeting with him, Christina Marshall and John De Leon, along with our consulting group. The general purpose of the meeting was to discuss moving forward with the community survey portion of the consultant's proposal. Representatives of Corona Insights explained how moving forward with this part of the plan would be a benefit to the overall assessment. The plan would be to send a survey to all Sweetwater County residents with various questions designed to identify opioid and mental health issues within the community. They believe approximately 250 surveys would be returned and that this information would be combined with the expert interviews that have already been completed to help create the best information for our final product. The committee discussed the option and will try to make a decision by Friday. I then spent the rest of the day preparing and sending requisitions for the specific purpose tax joint powers board again and getting ready for this meeting. Tomorrow, I will attend the regular monthly meeting of the museum board. Thursday, I will travel to Lyman for the regular meeting of the Coalition of Local Governments. That night, Mariella and I will attend the 10th Annual Festival of Trees at Commerce Bank. We enjoy that celebration every year and see it as the beginning of the Christmas season. I would also like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving next week and hope that if anyone is traveling, that they do so safely and without any delays. Mr. Chairman, with that, I would end my report and stand for any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any questions or comments for Commissioner Slaughter's report? I've got one for you, Commissioner. You said
Yes, sir.
you heard an update from Jamestown and was it Reliance on the specific purpose?
Jamestown and North Sweetwater.
Where are they at with this?
They've
process?
North Sweetwater has finished their first phase and are currently working on the second phase. They did a pretty good presentation. They had I'll get you a copy of the PowerPoint that they did for us. I'll send a copy of it to each of the commissioners. It showed a lot of their progress, had a lot of pictures of what they've done along with the information on where they are. They're currently working on phase 2, but have really come a long ways with the project. So it looks good.
So they've actually started construction then?
They have.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, it looks good.
Good deal. I look forward to the conversation on the next 6 cent at your next meeting.
Yeah, I'll look forward to that also, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Tillman, the floor is yours.
Thank you. On November 5th, I attended the Kiwanis meeting, not Rotary Club, as I stated at the last meeting, so sorry about that, guys. I provided updates on the county budget, the effects of property tax cuts and upcoming events like the Rock Springs BLM resource management scoping and industrial siting. Special thanks to Bud Allen and members for inviting me to join them. They did have some comments about the Lincoln Star and wondered what the devil that was all about. Anyway, we took care of that today, I guess. November 5th, I attended the Eden Valley Solid Waste District just to share the District 1 proposal for expansion and ask them to think about it and to contact them for a presentation to see if they might be interested in being a part of that. November 8th, Saturday night, after riding the horse all day, I went to Farson to the community center to attend the awards banquet for the International Eagle Ostrichers Association. It's the National Eagle Falconers Association, and they help us by providing falconers to remove eagles who are depredating on the lambs in the spring. So it was a very interesting meeting. Ostricher means one who keeps or trains goshawks, but in this case, eagles and other raptors. So it was quite interesting. I was the only sheep herder there, so that was that was fun. November 6th to 11th, I helped with the family cattle roundup and shipping the cows or the calves. I'm still alive after riding my horse for 3 long days. November 13th, I listened in on the NACO Public Lands Committee meeting. They take a very active role in lobbying annually for our PILT, our payment in lieu of taxes, for the money we receive from federal property, and the Secure Rural Schools, which is from mainly funds received from forest projects. We discussed the new BLM nominee, Steve Pierce, former New Mexico congressman, who comes highly recommended to be the national BLM director. We talked about the Congressional Energy and Natural Resources hearing that Chairman West referred to. I guess it is being held tomorrow. The purpose of the upcoming hearing will examine how the BLM land use planning process under the Federal Land Policy and Management Act affects permitting for energy, mining, grazing, and infrastructure projects on public lands. The goal of this hearing is to build a record highlighting how the current FLPMA planning process can hinder timely permitting and access, and to highlight how restoring flexibility and coordination with states and counties would produce more balanced and durable outcomes. The committee, they were soliciting anecdotes, legislative ideas, examples from the members. It's one of the roles that our membership and National Association of County Officials, they're very active in protecting our tax base. And this is one way that they can help with that. November 14th, I attended 4-H Achievement Night with my niece, Taylor. They gave me a candle and a certificate for being a spark of light. So I thought that was interesting. That afternoon, I met with John DeLeon regarding combined communications center MOU with the cities and the upcoming meeting next Tuesday with Mayor Mickelson and the other parties. Also reviewed information on the Community Fine Art Center and possible board dissolution. So thank you, John, for your words of wisdom always and your research that you always do for us. We appreciate it very much. November 17th, discussed the upcoming P&Z meeting regarding Airbnb or similar rules for the county with Eric Bingham and Ellen Adams, as I had residents of Farson inquiring about the status of Airbnbs. Also provide the letter to Eric that the county sent to Nolan Rapp at the governor's office on February 18th regarding reimbursement from the Federal Natural Resource Policy account for our legal expenses on the Rock Springs Resource Management Plan. Last night, I attended the library board meeting. I heard updates on the facilities improvements, thanks to Gene and the crew. They are working on a checkout policy, especially for out-of-county residents, with the possibility of a fee, since these are county-funded. This is a county-funded entity. Also, a seasonal checkout system for part-time residents is being considered. Also yesterday, I attended the Eden Valley Senior Luncheon. Special thanks to Assessor Davis for being there to assist with the tax signups, tax reduction signups. Upcoming, tomorrow I will drive to Gillette, Wyoming. I was elected or awarded the 2025 Outstanding Elected Leader for the Wyoming Association of Conservation Districts at their 80th Annual Convention. I will travel to Gillette tomorrow for that. The 20th Coalition of Governments meeting in Lyman. Thanks, Commissioner Slaughter, for covering that. Next week, I have the meeting with the mayors on the combined communications on Tuesday. I have golden hour at 4 o'clock on Tuesday. Saturday, the 22nd, I urge everyone to attend the International Survivors of Suicide at 11 a.m. at Broadway Theater. Great insights and speeches, so I recommend that people attend that. November 22nd, 27th, happy Thanksgiving to all. I will go to Kimmer to be with my mother at the senior center there and join them in a great potluck dinner. So have a happy Thanksgiving and safe travels. Amen.
Okay. Thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate your report. Any questions or comments for Commissioner Toman?
Mr. Chairman, just a congratulations to her for her conservation award. That's very impressive.
Been a
I
good year
was
for you.
worried. I was a little bit worried when we whacked their budget, but they still nominated me. even
Thought
though
that you get all the credit even after doing that. Big year for you.
sure I was out of the running forever.
Yes, congratulations. Our Commissioner Spark of Light.
I thought that, yeah, you
Very nice.
should know that.
Commissioner Richards, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. Got some feedback. Very light lift for me over the last couple weeks. Together with Chairman West, I met with Mayor Mickelson a couple times, once to discuss ideas for projects that the city and county could cooperate on for the benefit of the whole community, and wants to discuss various MOUs and joint powers agreements that we partner with them for. We discussed which ones were working fine, which ones could possibly be eliminated, and which ones need to be further scrutinized. We identified some common ground on how to move forward, and we are going to continue some of those discussions. Specifically, we're going to have some additional discussions regarding the Joint Powers Combined Communications Board. Next week, Mayor Mickelson will be meeting with his appointed representatives to that board, and he's asked Commissioner Toman and myself to join them. On the 13th, I attended the SCORC Steering Committee meeting. SCORC is ready to support any outdoor recreation projects that our community pursues and needs community members to step up and serve both on the steering committee and the collaborative itself. So if anybody's interested in participating, please reach out to me. Looking forward, tonight I have a Southwest Counseling Board meeting. Of course, we have a fantastic agenda item coming up next on our agenda that I am looking forward to. Tomorrow, I have an airport board meeting. On the 25th, the meeting at the mayor's office. And then, of course, Thanksgiving is on the 27th. And with that in mind, I just want to express how thankful I am to have such a wonderful and supportive family, to be able to serve as a commissioner in such a vibrant and hardworking community, and to be able to work with such great people to do it. And that includes all the professional staff here at the county, as well as all of you and the other elected officials that we work with. My whole report today was under a page this morning, Mr. Chairman. I'm pretty sure that's some kind of a record for me, and that's all I've got for you today. So I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. Sally's happy about that. It's less type to her for her to prepare. Any questions or comments for Commissioner Richards? If not, well done, Commissioners. Appreciate all the hard work as always. That is going to move us right along into tab C. Do we have everyone, Commissioner? It doesn't look like it. Are they all? It's an open door. Absolutely.
No reason to be afraid.
I'll take it all.
We have everyone. Under tab C this morning, Commissioners, is a recognition of community heroes. And at this time, I would pass it along to the Southwest Counseling Liaison, Commissioner Richards.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. At our last Southwest Counseling meeting, it was brought to my attention that a group of Southwest Counseling employees were faced with what was a medical emergency. And they stepped up as a team, saved a life, and made Sweetwater County proud. They were recognized at that Southwest Counseling meeting, but I felt that their actions warranted being recognized in public for the entirety of Sweetwater County to see. and understand how important these folks are to our community and how well they represented themselves in the organization they work for.
Yeah, that speaks volumes to the type of people we have in this community. And as such, I think it's a great idea that we take the time to honor your compassion and courage. So with that, we have presented individual certificates to honor you. And then we have 2 plaques prepared, one of which will be displayed within the facility at Southwest Counseling. And then we have another one we prepared to hang here in the courthouse honoring you with your names on them. So individually, we have those. I'll read just kind of aloud, and then we would like to take a picture with you in honor of you all. So with that, we have a Community Heroes Award and presentation honoring the courage, compassion, and presence of mind on October 1st, 2025. When seconds mattered, these individuals recognized danger and took immediate action. Their bravery and composure saved a life and inspired a community. With gratitude from the people of Sweetwater County, this plaque and certificates, along with the individual certificates, are presented by the Sweetwater County Board of County Commissioners in recognition of extraordinary courage and service to others. And with those honorees are, and I hope I don't mess up your names, I apologize if I do, Shelby Gordon, Carmen Bird, Lauren Mayer, Sunny Hodgson, Rhonda Brown, Stephanie Gilmore, Andrea Rennie, Crystal Norton, and Brad Bell. Please join us in honoring these tremendous individuals. We'll give you some certificates if you want to come up, and we'll take a picture in your honor.
Shot across our bow and have it. I was expecting one of the motions. Yeah, I never what gospel down there.
We'll go ahead and announce these individually, and if you guys want to come up. Louder than I intended. We'll call this meeting back to order. Apologize for the delay there in IT. We just had something that's finally exciting and not controversial, and I don't think we captured it on YouTube due to the IT, so hopefully I'm wrong, but that's very unfortunate if not. But nonetheless, a huge thank you to those community heroes for stepping up in a time of need, and thanks for Commissioner Richards for organizing their recognition and well-deserved recognition. With that, Commissioners, we are going to move along into the final tab before us this morning, which is tab D, the action and presentation items. There are 9 items before us today. The first being the Southwest Counseling Service building maintenance of county-owned buildings occupied Southwest Counseling Service. We have Interim Director and CFO Melissa Ray Marchetti with us, along with Public Works Director Gene Legursky and the Southwest Counseling Board Chair Kayleen Logan. And good morning to you all. Who wants the hot seat? Microphone's down because Mary was there, but you can bring it back up.
We're about the same height.
I was not there. He's just getting back at me for trying to make funny stuff.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chairman West, Commissioners. Thank you for having us again here at Southwest Counseling. Our visits are becoming more frequent. Is that better? Okay, perfect. There we go. So coming before you today to open up discussion regarding setting up an account for capital maintenance of the facilities that SCS occupies. The facilities that are occupied by Southwest Counseling Service are all owned by the county. And in the past, we've had the unfortunate events of budgeting for our capital expenditures based upon emergencies that arise. So what we're hoping to do today is to collaborate by taking whatever it is that the commissioners feel is appropriate. But we discussed taking a portion of the funding that we received, the $650,000 of the allocation that goes to Southwest Counseling Service, and taking, so that's $50,000 a month, taking $17,000 of those funds to put into a capital account with the county so that we can plan down the road and do a lot more preventative care on these buildings to ensure that we're not reactive and that we're being proactive. So that's what I am here to go ahead and present to you, and ask Gene if he has anything to add during these discussions, or if any questions that I can ask, or how we could move forward with having a better way to maintain these buildings.
No, thanks, Melissa. I appreciate that. I know even when I was liaison, we kind of struggled with this one and had some back and forth and trying to find the happy medium, I guess, on how to prepare and plan for it. And I know we tried to kind of model some of what the county does with the capital committee, but obviously that can be difficult with, constraints on budgets. And we have some of that going towards, your guys' organization, but then obviously with the county facilities and how do we make that all work? And I don't know that we have an answer, and we've never really been able to come up with one. And so, I like the idea of trying, and obviously this is already into this current budget cycle, but maybe it'll give us enough time to, prepare for next budget season and see if it works or if it doesn't, and kind of what the different nuances are. So I appreciate the intent, and I have had a conversation with Gene, and it sounds like they're on board to give it a try too. So, Commissioners, I would ask if there's any other input or questions or comments.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Tillman.
So you're not proposing to ask for more money, you're just asking for the amount we already pay you, that you take that 17,500 a month and put it into a capital? Is that what you're asking?
Chairman West, Commissioner Toman, absolutely. The question is to go ahead and hold the funds aside so that we can be more prepared with an actual capital reserve, if you will, so that we may go ahead and, as events arise or preventative care, have the assistance of Gene's team as well as Gene to assess those items and have that funding that is there and set aside and earmarked specifically for capital.
Thank you.
Of course.
Commissioner Richards.
Mr. Chairman, I guess for the sake of the rest of the commissioners, can we clarify how that will work for maintenance in the meantime? So does that mean you would be providing maintenance on the facilities in the short term while we figure out what it's going to cost in the long term?
Commissioner Richards, yes, we would be helping with the maintenance of those facilities. If you actually look at the total amount of them, they have about 90,000 square feet of facility space. It's pretty evenly split between residential housing and what I would consider office space. Currently, Sweetwater County Facilities manages about 420,000. With the help that they currently have and the condition of not knowing everything, my gut's telling me a half a FTE right now. But I think this will give us a good opportunity for the next 4 or 5 months to narrow that down, figure out exactly the calls and the stuff like that we get, and to get in there and be able to look at what capital is really needed. It's nothing different than what I've been preaching to you guys for as long as I've taken this over, that we can't fall behind on capital too far. Else we're swamped. So what we're trying to do is just county-owned facilities, which, these are, just trying to get a good handle on those and figure out where we can go forward. Does that answer your question?
So in regards to the funding, obviously we have a agreement with Southwest Counseling, which we just approved. Is my understanding, obviously, that roughly $50,000 allocation that comes in every month, we would then create an account, a holding account? Okay.
Holding account, sorry. Holding account within the county.
Okay.
Gary's talked to Rebecca about how to do that. And then what would happen is we would charge, it'd probably be a project, and we would charge, materials and stuff against that. Nothing different than what they're already paying for materials and stuff like that they do internally. But what we're going to do is hopefully get a good handle on, 17,000 goes far, but it doesn't go that far when you have to replace big units. So we would have an understanding of, hey, in 3 years, how much money will we have with the current burn rate of just normal materials, and what can we save within that to do, roofs, HVAC units, air handlers, stuff like that we've had to do in other buildings.
Okay, so on that note, John, I guess I would ask, is that something we need to amend with that agreement? Or do you think we can kind of just do it as a trial basis, or what's the best approach? And maybe you don't have enough information to answer that right now, but
Mr. Chairman, I can certainly get together with Gene and see how to incorporate that. As much as can be incorporated into one document, that's obviously better. But I'm not exactly sure how it's gonna fully play out, so it may take a little bit of time to have all of the details nailed down, but I can certainly get together with Gene if we can come up with an amendment that works for everybody, then we can bring that back to the board.
And there's a couple different ways I've thought of it, and it really what it is, it's taking one money out of your front pocket and putting it in the back pocket, or vice versa, on a lot of this. Trying to keep down on the amount of paperwork that everybody has to shuffle. But, we would like to get started sooner rather than later. So with your guys' permission, I would like to get in there and start looking at the major capital items and stuff like that, so we can get a better handle on it. Because if we wait until, I think you guys meet December 6th, that really isn't, but if it falls into that next one, we lose almost a month. So if we can get that while the weather's warm and we can get up on the roofs and do stuff like that, that'd be greatly appreciated.
very good. Any other feedback, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I think they're just looking for our blessing to move forward.
Yeah, I don't even know if we really need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say, I think this shows good foresight. And when Gene originally brought this to my attention, he basically informed me that he felt like it would give him this time to come up with how this will ultimately affect his department. And he thinks that this is something that will be beneficial. So once again, progressive thoughts. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other
I
feedback?
have a question though. Are you doing janitorial stuff, or is the counseling doing it?
Southwest Counseling is doing janitorial, so this won't affect facilities custodial at all. It's just facility maintenance.
Okay, thanks.
Any other feedback? Well, I believe you have our blessing. We'll move forward, work out some of the details with John as discussed, and we'll see how it goes. But we definitely appreciate any efforts to streamline and coordinate, making sure we're keeping up with capital needs of the facilities. It's always an easy one to overlook and pass by, especially during difficult budget constraints. So we appreciate that, and we'll see how it works out. But yeah, thanks for your foresight.
Great. Thank you, commissioners. I appreciate it. And to Jean as well, and the entire team that's assisted.
Very good. I would like to recognize longtime Commissioner and Chairman Wally Johnson for joining us this morning. Good morning to you, Commissioner. That's will keep us honest up here now. That's going to move us right along to item number 2, which is the request for the approval of the contract between Southwest Counseling Services and Treatment Court. And joining us this morning is HR Director Gary McLean. Good morning, Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners. We're on the Southwest Counseling theme this morning, so might as well continue that. As you know, back in July, I took over oversight of the treatment court program. And after getting into the program a little bit, there has been an ongoing relationship for treatment of patients in the program with Southwest Counseling. This agreement has been the ongoing agreement, and we would like to renew that for now. We have been talking about some amendments to the agreement, but we need a little more time to work out how that might look, maybe on like a per patient basis or something like that. But for right now, so that we can get services paid for and folks treated, we'd like to renew the existing agreement, which is before you, and then explore. I think the ultimate goal is to be able to identify specific costs from the program for each specific person who goes through the program. So this agreement is essentially per month for the services. And I think generally that probably works out okay, but it doesn't allow us ability, as you might imagine. Some folks are going to require considerably more treatment than others. Some not very much. So the question is, how do we go about that? Some people may have insurance, some people may have other forms of payment. So we want to try to figure out an equitable arrangement. That's going to take a little bit of time. Being new to the program, I didn't feel like I was in a position yet with the details to make that amendment, but hopefully before the budget starts for this year, I'll come back with an amended agreement, something that allows us to pin down the costs on an individual level in that program. So for right now, the request is for the board to consider approving the contract with Southwest Counseling for services to the treatment program and authorize the chairman to sign.
Very good. Thank you, Gary. Appreciate that. And on that note, on the very last signature page, it calls for the president of the Treatment Court
Yeah,
Foundation.
Yeah.
Is that still in existence?
you have an amended
Okay.
agreement.
Okay. So that's for the chairman to
Yeah,
sign.
I know.
then.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I have a separate page where I signed also, and
Okay.
yeah.
Questions on the contractual agreement, commissioners? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the contract between Southwest Counseling Service and Treatment Court of Sweetwater County and authorize the chairman to sign.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
I do have a question.
Mr. Tillman.
I see it says for adults. Is this adults only? This
Yes.
agreement?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, those are the only eligible parties for the treatment court program.
thank you.
Very good. We took our break early due to the IT issues, so it's going to move us right along into item number 4, which is the request for the approval of the 2026 Smith RX Plan Update and Amendment Form. I'll hand it back to Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners. This one's pretty easy. Each year is part of the new year's enrollment. There are various tax rules that are changed to affect the plan. This particular tax rule only affects the HSA, the health savings account, or the high deductible plan, however you think of it. In short, the IRS rules have increased the 2026 minimum deductibles to be eligible for high deductible plan from 1,700 from 1,650 to 1,700, and from 3,300 to 3,400 for this year. And this document just acknowledges that understanding, and our open enrollment plan incorporated um, this change. And so I'm requesting the board to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the contract with Smith RX. Again, Smith RX is the pharmacy provider that adjudicates the pharmacy plan under our self-funded plan. Okay. Adjudicates sounds a little bit too legal, but administrates
Knew
our
what you
plan.
meant.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gary. Questions on the amendment, commissioners? Not entertain a motion to approve the 2026 Smith RX plan update and amendment form and authorize the chairman to sign.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Slaughter. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Item number 5 is the request for the approval of the 2026 stop loss proposal. We'll hand it back to Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners. Please stop me if I need to answer any questions or explain. This is a little more complicated. So we'll start with, remember, our plan is a self-funded plan. We pay all medical expenses under the plan up to the stop loss limit. Obviously, no health insurance could afford to pay all the potential claims. So we pay up to a certain limit on the claims, and then the stop loss insurance kicks in and they pay any amount above that. So currently we pay at a stop loss threshold of $200,000. So we pay dollar for dollar all medical claims up to that stop loss limit. After that, then the Pareto, the stop loss carrier kicks in and pays the balance. Technically, we pay all of the claim, and then they reimburse us everything above the 200,000. But so each year we have to renew that, and stop loss is a little difficult because they want as much data in the plan year as they can. So they push it as late as they can. So they have as full a picture of what sort of risks they're taking on. And as most of you know, from year to year, what really sets the dollar amount for the health insurance is how many large claims you have. Fortunately, in the last few years, it's been smaller amounts. Some years we've had 21 large claims. And so the stop loss provider is looking for that kind of detail. About 3 years ago, we signed our stop loss insurance with what's called a captive. And a captive are a group of entities that are like us. And the reason that you do that is because the risks are more similar. And so the costs get to be more predictable and more manageable. There's also some other benefits in that they've set caps on the maximum increases and a limit on the number of lasers that you have. We had someone who went in, but going forth, those are significantly limited. So unlike Sweetwater County, most of the other entities haven't done quite as well. And so the stop loss quotes came back with some fairly significant increases. Again, take it with a grain of salt because stop loss is a small portion of the overall plan costs, a very small portion of the overall plan costs. If you think that, for example, we're spending about $11 million a year in health insurance, and we're talking somewhere between 82,000, 219,000 for stop loss. So with that said, the options that came back were quote for $200,000 threshold, which is we are currently, which is a 29% increase in the stop loss premium. And the $225,000 threshold, 146,623. And at the $250,000 threshold, an increase of 82,000. In analyzing this, essentially what you're doing is balancing risk. And so from my perspective, it's kind of no brainer because all it takes is even one small claim, and you've exceeded any benefits from going to a lower threshold. So I see no reason for us to increase the threshold to get these savings because this is a known quantity that we know. And it's and we minimize our risk of exposure for multiple higher claims. So I see no reason to increase our threshold beyond the 200,000. So my recommendation would be to approve the $200,000 threshold with the indicated increase for 2006 plan year.
Very good. Appreciate the background on that, Gary. Questions on the stop loss proposal, commissioners?
I know that's a lot.
Probably a dumb question, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
You're gonna get a
Takes-
dumb answer just.
It just takes one claim to hit that, right? That's not an individual claim
No.
app. So
Yeah, so if you went and had surgery and your surgery was $300,000, technically we'd pay 300,000, but we pay $200,000 and they pick up the other $100,000.
But is that on an individual basis?
Yeah.
It is, okay.
Yeah, and so you can see the problem, right? Because if you move this up, we only have to have, like, we had 3 large claims this year, we have 4. We've already spent more than what we'd saved by going to the higher premium, but we take on all that risk of having that many more claims that would be above 225, for example. So I don't see any benefit in that in the long term, especially given our history. It just means we're going to take a lot more risk for the amount of money that we're paying. So I just don't see any benefit in it right now. Just to be clear, and this is what's really frustrating with this one, we've had, as I've told the board previously, we've had 3 very good years health insurance. In the next meeting or two, I'm going to have Treasurer Mark Hound come in and present with you, just so you can kind of see how this may work. We've probably got, I'm going to estimate 4.2 million in reserves in the health insurance fund. So from an individual perspective, we've done very well. The last 3 years, we've had relatively low numbers of large claims, and we've been at much lower than our premium funding level. As I told you, our goal is to try to stay out of this going to 12-15% increases and then 0. We've tried to take a 5-6% kind of a steady line increase. I'd gone back for 11 years and looked over that 11 years. Had we done that, we would have been break even. So in the years where we're doing okay, Mark is investing that money, and the mid-year return was about 150,000, maybe a little bit higher. So we're going to come back here in a couple meetings and I'll let him kind of report on that. The idea behind that is hopefully that in the year where we need a 12, we're still going to do a 6 and we'll draw that fund down and we shouldn't have to tap the general fund. It's really difficult, especially for smaller entities when they have those kind of increases and we don't know until right before budget or if then to make those accommodations. So that's our strategy so far. I'd say we're in very good shape for that for, the next several years.
Very good. Additional comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Slaughter.
Gary, once again, probably a stupid question, but I'm missing something here.
Yeah.
If we're looking at the stop loss being on individual cases, and currently the threshold is $200,000. If we increase that to $225,000, that would be an increase of $25,000 for each case that takes place at this point in time.
Right.
So for having the $225,000 threshold, our annual increase would only be $146,000. But the way I look at this, it would be the difference between the $200,000 and the $225,000 that we would be paying for the decrease in the increase, which is extremely confusing.
So it's
But I'm missing
73,000.
where the additional risk is coming from this.
Yeah.
Because it would look like it would take roughly 10 people to meet that, which you've said we've had 20 in some years, things
21,
like
yeah.
that. So I can see that, but it looks like if we had under 10 people who would meet that, we might be better off going to the $225,000.
Yeah, that's exactly,
So-
that's the game.
So the number, what has been the average number of people that have reached that over the last several years.
So if you, I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but I would say like this year, I think we were only at 3 or 4.
Okay. Is,
But it-
generally you would think that it would be.
It's higher.
It's generally.
Generally
higher than
been
3 or 4.
higher. Yeah, so it was only 3 or 4 years ago, we had 21, we've had 18, we've had 17. I would say, right now, and unless there's some data to indicate the otherwise, I mean, the risk, the exposure to those higher claims because there are more procedures, more costly procedures, especially like these testing bio drugs that are designed to fit individuals are really pushing up those costs. We had for the last couple of years a couple individuals that are almost $500,000 just in pharmacy, no medical treatment. So at least for me right now, I just don't feel like the exposure to what's coming out is there. But if the board would, want to do that, I'm willing. I'm just telling you my risk. This is a complete risk tolerance question.
Yeah.
There's no scientific approach to this.
Well, and I see your point in
Yeah.
the fact that they're becoming more and more procedures and therefore it's more costly to the plan doing that. So
Yeah.
I get it.
I mean, it's a
Yeah,
tough
just-
call. I mean, it really is. And that's why I said this is more complicated because there isn't a mathematical equation for this. We've done a lot in the last few years to try to control the high costs and some creative things with pharmacy. But the average medical cost of inflation, if all else is equal, is 8.5%, 9% every year. And the big dollar amounts continue to go up much faster than that. So the day where we thought $1 million claim was out of the question, I was talking with our consultants a couple weeks ago. They had a client that had a $5 million claim from Primary Children's. Yeah, so those are sort of the risks. And I certainly wouldn't balk at 225. We had to do that. I just don't know that I see the reason to do it right now for the $73,000 difference in exposure.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Richards.
if my third grade math does me right, basically we're looking at 3 people as the break off in the value. So if, whether it be from 250,000 to 200,000 or 225,000 to 200,000, if 3 people break that limit, then we've paid for it.
That's where I missed the point, Mr. Chairman. I didn't look at the increase and the fact that there's the $76,000 increase in it also. So thank you. That got the point that I was missing.
I could have pointed that out, Rob.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I asked you to, Gary, but you didn't. It took Island to do it for me.
That's what I'm here for.
Mr. Jones? No?
So, and I know Rob touched on this, but if we've had 3 or 4 good years, and we're at 3 now, and sometimes 21, 18, 17, it's probably an average around 12-ish.
That's probably a reasonable number, but I'd say maybe just a little higher than that, but yeah. Yeah. It's a good point, though. I mean, I probably could run a report as I did with the claims costs for the past 10 years and see what the 10-year, because you do need kind of a long period of time because you get big jumps and just kind of see where that's at. Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting. Maybe I'll do that and see what that would show us, if anything. But the problem is you almost have to adjust that because over time you got these big jumps in costs with procedures and new procedures coming out and more technical procedures. But yeah, I think that's worthwhile looking at.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Toman?
well, isn't that like an average minor surgery is $250,000?
Yeah, I mean,
Isn't that what you're seeing kind of?
yeah, I wouldn't say it's quite that high, but the thing that people forget about is a knee procedure might
Yeah.
be 40,000, but then you've got anesthesiologists, that's 20,000. You've got the facility fee wherever you do the surgery, that's 15,000. Pretty soon they add up pretty quickly. So, yeah.
Any other discussion? If not, I'd entertain a motion to lost my spot. Approve the 2026 stop loss proposal for the 200,000 annual specific deductible and authorize the chairman to sign the attached proposal within your packet.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate
you.
all the information with that. And that's going to bring us to item number 6, which is the sale of the 115 East Flaming Gorge Way facility. Joining us this morning is Public Works Director Gene Legursky and Chief Deputy County Attorney John DeLeon. Good morning, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one note, I'm glad to see you guys dropping into the actuarial sciences. It brought me back to college and nightmares. So glad you guys were doing that. What we have before you, believe it or not, started back in 2017, 2018 as part of the consolidation of the county buildings. We've had some challenges with the building on 115 East Fleming Gorge. We've gotten those all cleared up. The people that are moving there are excited to be there. Hopefully everything is on tap to close this Friday. You know how that goes with closings. We don't know until we actually close, but right now everything from the title company, everything is to close on that. So what we have before you is resolution number 25-11-CC02. Order approving the sale of county property at 115 East Fleming Gorge Way and allowing the chairman to sign all necessary closing documents.
Thanks, Gene. And just a little bit of background on this. This resolution came before you this morning. Originally, when we developed the packet, there was a change. The individuals interested. Well, there's been a few changes. There was an LLC developed. There was a delay in the closing. The title company had requested information, more or less approving the approval of the sale. So we had prepared to submit the meeting minutes from today's meeting to the title company. The original goal is to close on Friday if this is approved. Obviously, those minutes wouldn't be approved until our next meeting. And so in an effort to bring this to fruition, John prepared a resolution. I believe you've all had a chance to review that orders and authorize the sale of the property so we can submit that for closing and authorize the chairman to sign. So before we move forward with that, I just want to make sure you've all had a chance to review and see if you had any questions. Very good. If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve resolution 25-11-CC-02, an order approving the sale of the county property at 115 East Flaming Gorge Way and authorize the chairman to sign any and all closing documents.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Slaughter. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Gene and John, for your work on that. It's going to bring us to item number 7, which is an amendment to the Hiawatha Road right-of-way, and we'll hand it back to Gene.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What this is down on Hiawatha Road. Hiawatha Road actually goes in and out of Colorado 3 different times. We take care of the sections obviously in Wyoming. Moffat County takes care of the sections in there. Where Vermilion Creek crosses or gets close to the road, we have seen some erosion in the channel of the ditch that is going to need our assistance to be able to basically fix that so we don't lose the road at some point. We want to get it while we can do it and before we lose that road. Right now, that road is very busy with oil and gas activities. It's crazy how much stuff is going on down there. What this is the first step with the BLM to get a bigger right-of-way in there so we can actually get outside of our natural 100-foot right-of-way and fix that drainage problem and be able to reinforce the slope and do all that stuff to bring it back within our right-of-way. We've tried different things with the BLM to see if we could get, because it is, somewhat impending, to see if we could work around some other things. And with the BLM, they basically said no. So we're going through the SF 299 process for a little chunk of that land to be able to expand our right-of-way. Once this is submitted, the BLM will tell us exactly what we need to do to expand the right-of-way. So I will be back, trust me on this, a couple more times.
So on The approval for that, you're just asking us to move forward with the SF 299
And allow the chairman to sign.
amendment?
Yes.
Okay. Questions on the right-of-way amendment, commissioners? Not to entertain a motion to approve the SF 299 amendment to the Hiawatha Road right-of-way as presented and authorize the chairman to sign.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Toman.
how long will it take the BLM to dig through that?
Thank you
Sorry.
for laughing at that. Who knows? Hopefully we'll be fixing it at this time next year. I mean, that's my hope. You never know. Because we are going outside of the right of way, they could require us to do archaeological everything. We don't know. Even though it is currently disturbed by the water that's been running down the road into Vermilion Creek and getting there, and we've had pictures of it. We're at the beck and call of whatever the BLM says. So sorry, I don't have
I know.
I wish I did.
Understand.
I wish I could say we're starting next week, but
And just to back up real quick on that item number 6, the sale of the 115 East Flaming Gorge Way, because that resolution wasn't in our packet, if there's any press that would like a copy of that, we'll have that at the adjournment of the meeting. And with that, we will move along to item number 8, which is the approval of the fiscal year 2026 CMAQ subrecipient grant agreement for project CM 26304. Joining us this morning is County Grants Manager Christina Marshall and Jean, and it says Andy, but I think Jean's filling in. So good morning.
Good morning. Last but not least, I have 2 agenda items for you. So this first one, the Wyoming Department of Transportation awarded Sweetwater County a Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality, or CMAQ, program grant. The project requires a 20% cash match and must be completed by September 30th of 2028. The purpose of the CMAQ program is to alleviate air quality issues created by energy development and other industrial activity in the vicinity. The Public Works Department will use the funding to apply magnesium chloride dust suppressant to 76.82 miles of county roads for a total budget of $441,855. This will create a better quality road surface and improve safety issues with dust from the roadway. So again, the total budget for the project is $441,855. The required cash match from the county is $88,371, or 20%. So some few notes: Sweetwater County's funding request was awarded in full this year. The required cash match was included in fiscal year 2026 budget, so no budget amendment is required. The grant agreement is only available electronically, so there is no original hard document to sign, and the chairman will be emailed that following, hopefully, your approval. I've included in your packet the approved project roadway, so you can see all those numbers. You also have the award letter and CMAQ agreement. I'm happy to answer any questions, or the Public Works Director can, but otherwise we're asking your approval of that agreement.
Very good. Appreciate the background as always, Christina. I have received that signature page, so upon the vote, we'll get that approved. But what a great program, and certainly a great, I guess, relationship with YDOT. So I would ask for any questions on this CMAQ subrecipient grant agreement, commissioners.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Jones.
just one under the match column. It has us with 2 different amounts. I don't know if it matters for the grant. It's only $1, but I didn't know if it would make any difference for the grant. It's
I apologize. It was rounded.
I hate to be that
So-
nitpicky. I just
No,
don't want-
no, I'm glad you are. That makes me a better person. So I will tell you, it's actually $371. We will not spend $1 more. So the total project should be well, actually, yeah, that's correct. So thank you for catching that.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Gene.
Just to kind of give you guys, we don't get to do this very often, but the CMAQ program has undergone a lot of changes over the last 3 years. New methodologies, new everything of doing this. This is the first time since I've been here that we've received the full grant match. And I just want to thank Andy and Christina for doing that. It was a lot of work to get all of the documents prepared, all of everything prepared. They actually have a matrix now that you follow instead of back in the day when I first got here, we would all seclude ourselves in a room and argue with each other over who got the most money. It's evolved a long ways, but with that, it's a lot of tedious work to put all that together, get a full match. I just want to make sure that Andy and Christina are thanked for that because it makes a huge impact on what we can do for the county roads.
Yeah, that's a lot of miles. Thanks for that, Gene.
Remember, that doesn't include our dust suppression we do ourselves.
Right. Any other discussion? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the fiscal year 2026 CMAQ subrecipient grant agreement for project CM 26304 and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Slaughter. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all is in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. And the final item before you this morning, Commissioners, is item number 9 under tab D, the approval of the federal fiscal year 2026 Community Services Block Grant Contracts and Access Agreement. That's a mouthful. Hand it back to Christina.
Yes, I should have brought my water bottle. Okay, this is the last item. So the Wyoming Department of Health allocated $245,132.16 in Community Services Block Grant Funding, or CSBG, to Sweetwater County for projects that were analyzed, prioritized, and recommended by the tripartite board. The term to expend the allocation is October 1, 2025 to September 30th of 2026. This grant requires no cash match. So the purpose of CSBG funding is to alleviate the causes and conditions of poverty. The funding will be passed through to community agencies to carry out the services. So I'm going to try to simplify this, but it's a little confusing. So the county will pass the funding to four total programs. They are Rock Springs Young at Heart, Sweetwater County Transit Authority, or STAR, Sweetwater Family Resource Center, and the YWCA of Sweetwater County. New this year is STAR Transit, and that is a success for the tripartite board because the needs of transportation were identified in a prior needs assessment, as well as recruited by the board to apply for this funding. So they will be providing transportation assistance to qualified individuals through bus passes. Rock Springs Young at Heart, the funding will be given to them for homemaker and CNA services through their in-home services program, as well as funding for the meals program. Then next, Sweetwater Family Resource Center will receive funding for housing assistance in the form of emergency rent, deposits, and utilities. That is especially for people undergoing evictions. And then the last agency is the YWCA of Sweetwater County. The first program is Child Care Services, but I've highlighted and read in your packet that funding was approved for rent and deposit payments through their Victims of Domestic Violence program, the Victims Advocacy Center. The contract is not included in this packet because originally, you may recall, the YWCA was going to separate into 2 different entities. They have decided not to go that route. And so actually they are staying as one agency, and that was not approved by the tripartite board until last week. And then next, there is funding allocated for the tripartite board. It covers the balance of this community needs assessment as well as operational costs. That's insurance for the board members, advertising, some travel, training and conferences. And then finally, the tripartite board set aside $15,000 for unanticipated needs. So those prior programs could make a request to add that to their allocations. The three categories are basically housing, support services, and health, social, behavioral development. So the housing seems pretty clear. Social services is the Young at Heart funding. And then, or I'm sorry, that's the transportation and the childcare. And then finally, the health, social, behavioral development domain, that's Rock Springs Young at Heart. I thought you'd find interesting that in the priorities, housing of the entire budget will receive 46% of the funding, support services 24, and then health, social, behavioral development is 23. And so that is reflective of the needs in our community. Housing issues are alarming right now. So did you understand all that? So some other notes, the 4-year grant agreement from the Wyoming Department of Health for $1,008,099 was previously approved by the county commission on June 17th of this year. And the agency contracts were delayed because of changes in federal regulations. However, allowable expenses incurred on or after October 1, 2025 will be retroactively reimbursed. So the grant award also requires approval of an access agreement for the online software called Empower, paid by the Department of Health. That will be used for case management, database collection, compliance, reporting. That is used by all the agencies, but this agreement makes me the IT administrator for that software and gives me permission to manage it. And then I already discussed the changes to the YWCA. So with that, you have the 2 documents in your packet, and I'm happy to answer any questions or encourage your commissioner liaison who's on the board, Rob Slaughter, to answer any questions.
Thanks, Christina. Yeah, a lot going on there, but I followed you. How does that process work with the tripartite board? Is it these entities apply, they fill out an application, then you guys decide funding amounts based off of their application? Is that how that works?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, that is correct. I advertise a formal request for proposals. I follow federal regulations. It is not a competitive bid, but basically a proposal. And then the tripartite board gets together. They ask the agencies for questions regarding their programs. Some are accountability questions as well. We have a marathon meeting and then they approve the budget.
Okay. It's very interesting. I know it's a pass through and there's no cash match, but it's very important funding that I think is one of those that's also somewhat underspoken. I mean, when you look at during our budgeting process and we're making cuts, but also we're still providing funding through different avenues such as the CSBG. And I just think it's important that I'm glad that that funding is there through the Department of Health and that the tripartite board goes through and vets those out and can continue to provide additional funding for those resources. So appreciate your work on that.
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to add that the tripartite board makes Sweetwater County an eligible entity to receive this funding. In a few other counties, they have one agency that has that same status. But this, I actually have seen it for over 25 years, and I find it's a great process, lots of different viewpoints, good working board. Every quarter, they review the data from the agencies who submit how many people they've served, issues going on, et cetera.
Very good. Additional comments or questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the federal fiscal year 2026 Community Services Block Grant Contracts and Access Agreement and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Slaughter. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Christina. Appreciate it. And commissioners, with no further business to come before us, happy Thanksgiving to all. We'll see you back here in December. This meeting stands adjourned.